Hey, Brian, how are you?
Good. Sorry,
Where's
I'm
the
eating
animal?
supper. So,
There we go. Oh, what's his name?
Belle is her name.
Val?
Upside down.
Hey,
Also have 4 cats.
hey, who do we got there? We got Lauren.
Bug.
What's the pet's name?
Ladybug.
Ladybug. How are you, Ladybug? Are you looking forward to Panama, Ladybug?
Working on it.
Oh. All right. Well, then we got a kitty there too. Hey, Megan, how are you? We're showing off our pets as we're waiting for everyone to join.
Hello, everybody.
If anyone else wants to show off their pet before we get started, just down at the bottom right of the chat, you'll see a happy face. Click the happy face and then raise your hand. Where's Kira? No, she's hiding under the couch somewhere. Right?
Yeah,
You're on camera.
she's playing with Phoenix.
Okay, we got some more pets to be shown here. Yeah, again, if I allowed you to turn your camera on, you'll get a prompt that says, "Hey," and then you will be on display. There we go. Oh, look at that guy. Hi, Tracy.
Oh,
What's his name? Oh, sorry, Tracy. My apologies. I think you're still muted. There we go.
This is Lucy and her brother. We have another one under the table. So
All right.
they're little rescues adopted as well.
Yeah.
adorable.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, we got almost 50 people on here. Somebody else want to show their pet? We're going to get started here in about 2 minutes, folks. So if you raise your hand by clicking on the happy face at the bottom of the chat. There we go. We got Mark Dean coming on. Hey, guys, how are you? Who do we got there?
That's Bug's sister, Nikita.
Oh, hey, buddy, how are you? I can't. You're shy, obviously.
Here, Nikita, look.
Stay
Wanna go on a
still.
car?
Beautiful dog.
Want to go for a car ride?
Oscar, Megan, and me are just pet lovers. I've had a pet all my life. Oscar and Megan got Kira about 5 years ago, and it's just part of all of our lives now. So, yeah, we love our pets. Okay, so we are starting to get the crowds on. Thank you guys for showing your pet. So, if you don't, if the people that had their hands raised, if you don't mind unraising your hand.
How do you do that?
No, you just go back to the same place and it'll lower your hand. Okay. We are doing good here. Megan, how are you?
Great. We've got lots of friends on tonight.
Yeah, tons of people. From Texas, Arkansas, Alberta, bound, right on. Tampa, Michigan. We got a thunderstorm here in Boquete. You guys can probably hear that.
Big storm.
Kansas City. A couple things as we get started here, little housekeeping issues, guys. Save your questions. Don't ask them in the chat yet, please. Otherwise, we're going to hunt back for them afterwards. We'll have a Q&A section after the presentation. This is only going to take an hour. And as promised, you're all going to get an 8-page relocate your pet to Panama document emailed to you as soon as we close this event. And I think it'll be very helpful to you all. We're going to talk about everything: bringing your pet in the cabin, bringing your pet in the cargo, bringing your pet in a private jet. We're going to talk about driving to Panama, all those things. We have been doing I think we should kind of tell everyone, we've done a lot of marketing, and some people might not even know who we are. Our company is Retire in Panama. That is our legal company name, and we help expats make the decision to come to Panama or not. We do monthly tours of groups, small groups, 10, 12 people, and we also offer all those people services when they actually decide to move here. So we've expanded those services with our sister company, Panama Expat Service, to anyone who, people don't always want to take a tour. Some people do it themselves. Some people maybe have used other tours, stuff like that. So that's not an issue with us. Like, we will help you out with whatever services you are looking for. But bringing your pet to Panama, me being a pet lover, it's something I really wanted to get into. So this is what I really focus on outside of our tours. On Megan's husband, Oscar, my business partner. Of course, Megan's really the business partner now that they're married. You guys know that. And Oscar focuses on helping people finding their first vehicle on Panama, in Panama. He's actually in Panama City. He promised me if he got back to this hotel from the dealership in time, he would pop in and say hi to us all. So it all depends. He's searching for 2 or 3 vehicles for clients right now, and that's what his priority is. But bringing pets, we have brought hundreds of pets to Panama. Every week we bring 2 or 3 pets into Panama, whether it's pets on the plane, pets in the cargo, pets on the private plane. We have done it all. I was dealing with one just 10 minutes before this call. They're arriving on Wednesday. We're just coordinating final steps with Copa Cargo at LAX, and the pet will happily be here. So we not only offer the service of helping you bring the pet, we also offer transportation services within Panama once you arrive, because you don't want to put your pet on another flight, and you're really limited to your choices on what to do there. So we have pet-friendly drivers and vehicles in Panama City that will pick you up at the airport and take you to any location you are in Panama. So that is what we do. But Megan, tell us a little bit about your history with the company, when you came along, and what your operations and your role is.
Sure. So I am originally from Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia, and I graduated Penn State University with a major in international development and went right into the Peace Corps and found myself here in Panama. So I lived with Panamanian families here for about 2 years, working in community development projects, learning Spanish, learning a bunch about Panamanian culture. And after that, moved to Boquete when I met Oscar and started going on tours with him. So I've done a lot of the tours too, and I know how they go. And now I focus mostly on operations and logistics in the country, and helping connect you guys to any service providers you need here in Panama.
Perfect. Okay. Pet relocation for me, why I wanted to start helping it, because I've seen some people want to use a pet relocation company, end-to-end, door-to-door. I have no problem with that. You're looking at $2,000 to $5,000, meaning they come to your house several days before you leave. They pick up your animal. They take it from there. They get the animal to Panama City or to your destination. In the meantime, you have flown to Panama, and they will meet you up with your animal at that point. That's not for everybody, and it's very expensive. You can do this yourself, folks. You honestly can. A lot of people do, but some people feel that like the paperwork is very tight, and I'm going to explain it to you in a second. When you have to do it and how many days you have to do it and what authentications and stamps you need from different government agencies, depending on the country that you're coming from. This call is for Canadians and US citizens. That's what we specialize in. I'm sorry and I really stress that in the marketing. If there is someone from outside of North America, please talk to me after this call, like tomorrow or something, set something up, and I'll see what we can do for you. I do know rules from Spain and a few other countries too. It just gets complicated because every country has their own rules. So, but what do you need help with? Like, you don't need help with the procedures, getting the paperwork done, going to the vet. You need help with organizing. And we offer that service. We offer a pre-paperwork assistance that from 45 days out, we make sure you do everything right. We proofread everything. We help you make the appointments. We give you the contact of the actual cargo department head person in the airline that you're going to use. We tell you what airline you can use. We advise you on when you can fly. Like during the summer, you don't want afternoon flights. It gets too hot on the tarmac. You could be delayed. So just that's the type of service we offer. We have a good relationship with the Mensa Zoologist Department in Panama City, where your pet goes as soon as you arrive here. So we notify them of your coming. We have them pre-approve your paperwork. So it's sitting there, top of the pile. You arrive, boom, boom, get through. You're on your way. So that is what we're going to do today. And again, I'm going to get you to ask you to hold off on your questions. Where I'm going to do a short presentation of the document you're all going to be getting. So if you decide you want to do this by yourself, I got a step-by-step document here, and you're welcome to ask any question you want. So if you are sitting on this call and you see something come up in the document, feel free to type your question out. Please wait until we start the Q&A to hit the send button on the chat on that question. I think that will work best. So I'm going to load the presentation, and we are going to get started here. And again, these are US and Canada regulations and what you're going to do, okay? The number one important thing is your dog, your cat has to be vaccinated against rabies, and that has to be good within 30 days of your arrival date. What that means, that can't expire, or you can't get the shot 10 days before you come here. If you do when you arrive here, your dog is going into quarantine for 40 days. You don't want that. It's going to cost you a lot of money too. And the quarantine here is not that good. So make sure your dog is up to date on the rabies vaccine a month before you arrive here. Both the 1 year and 3 year shot are acceptable in Panama. So whatever your doctor is providing is fine. And the other vaccinations we will talk about in a second, okay? The paperwork requirement with a pet on a commercial plane, in cabin, in cargo, and basically on private are all the same, except some small minor things on private. You need different airway bills and stuff, and I'll explain that separately. And we're going to talk about private. A lot of you guys have big dogs, like bigger than 125 pounds, which get rejected because they don't fit in the maximum crate size, which I'll show you here. And you're looking at a private plane, or you just don't want to put your dog in cargo. Well, we're going to look at private plane sharing on this call also. We're going to make some connections with people, and we're going to keep a little database. We're not involved in the private plane companies. I'm going to give you recommendations who, over the last 2 years, the ones I've worked at are the best to work with. So now, step number 3 is you want to decide on the best airline for you, whether your pet is flying in cargo. We highly recommend one flight, a direct flight closest to you to Panama City. Now, if you have a small pet under 20 pounds, including its carrying case, then it's going to fit under the seat, and you can do a double leg type trip, and it's not really a problem. Now, you need to book early, especially like if you got a small pet in the cabin, book your flight 60 days in advance with your pet, because they only allow so many pets in cabin per flight. And you don't want to book on the day that you want, because, maybe they're sold out for pets in cabin. The other thing to remember, you want to arrive in Panama Monday through Thursday. Friday morning, early afternoon is fine also, if you got an early morning flight, because the doctors only work Monday to Friday here. And if you're arriving on the weekend or after hours, it can be done. It's very complicated, and it's at your own risk. Because if you contact, or if we contact, I don't do it anymore, because you have to rely on the doctor's word. He's going to arrive and he's going to be on time. Because if there's no doctor to see your pet, if you're after hours on a holiday or a weekend, then your pet goes into quarantine. Okay. So arrive Monday through Thursday or Friday before 2 p.m. is the best. Yeah. Okay. Now you're going to see on here, Copa Airlines. Many of you are going to say, who? Well, I'm sorry. It's the largest airline in Central and South America. They're on the New York Stock Exchange. Excellent airline. They are the best with pets. They it's unbelievable how good they are with pets, especially here in Panama City. They have the pet van. It's a little air-conditioned van. It's the first thing at the cargo to take your pets off and get them into an air-conditioned space. So they're really good. And they fly out of many locations in the US and Canada. Look at these locations. Find something closest to you. Now, this is what a lot of people do. Now, Houston is a problem because Houston is not taking pets in cargo right now. So people out of Texas, what am I going to do? Well, we have a lot of them will rent a vehicle one way and drive to Tampa or Orlando to catch a Copa flight. I know it's a 12 to 14, 16-hour drive sometimes. Do it over 2 days. Stay in pet-friendly hotels. Make it an adventure. Get your pet to a location. Your other option is ground transportation of the pet. You can just Google that in the States. It's very common. They will move the pet to you. So let's say you live in Houston and you want to fly out of Orlando for your final flight. You hire a ground company who will transport your pet in air-conditioned comfort to Orlando, and it'll be at a kennel waiting for you to pick it up. So that's another option you can do too. Canada, if you're in the West Coast, you have some challenges. But let me explain. I'm doing one today out of Duncan, British Columbia. Now, they were able to get on a WestJet flight from Vancouver to LA with their dog. And then they're going to stay a day, let the dog relax and calm down. It's a 50-pound Shar-Pei. And we're going to talk about breeds and banned breeds because a Shar-Pei is banned. I had to help them find an airline that would take it. Air Canada wouldn't. But they're moving it, and then they're going to stay for a day and a half in LA, and then they're booked on the LA Copa flight. So it's doable, but it's going to take some planning. Book flexible fares. Do not go for discounted seat savers because there is always a chance something could go wrong. Deal with it. It's going to be stressful. You're going to get there. Copa Cargo is full for some reason. Never happens. Copa Cargo will not book your flight 2 months in advance. They will book it 5 to 7 days in advance only. They need all the paperwork that we're going to talk about. You're going to get, and that's the same for Delta or American Airlines too. They won't book days in advance. So if you book a flexible fare, you won't get dinged with charges by changing your flight. And typically, every time I've had this happen, and it's not a lot, it's like a 2-3% thing, that for some reason they can't go that day. The cargo people get a hold of the ticket people and they move you to the next day flight, and and there's no fees involved. So it can. But booking flexible fare is the best. During North American summer months, book an early morning flight or a red eye, and you won't have an issue. If you book a 1 o'clock in the afternoon flight out of Miami in July, there's a chance your pet's not going to be on it. They're just going to say no, because honestly, the U.S. airlines are not that good with their pets. They don't have the facilities they seem to have down here in Panama as far as air-conditioned vehicles to move the pets around and stuff like that. So, okay. If your pet's traveling in cargo and you don't live, right here, use ground transportation or rent a car and drive there. Paperwork. There is some paperwork, not a lot. There's 3 main pieces of paperwork. There's the veterinary health certificate, which is Panama specific. Be careful where you get that from. There's many old versions online that are no longer accepted. And then you have the home quarantine form, and that's also, there's many versions. You fill it out, you send it to them, and they go, this one's 4 years old, can't you read the date? You know, so you got to make sure you have a current one, and you always need your rabies certificate. Those are the three main documents that you're going to need, that you have. You're going to need the originals, multiple copies always. Now, here's the vaccinations required in number 7. Now, I can't even say some of these words, so sorry. But it's basically distemper, hepatitis, and leptospirosis. That is a 3-in-1 vaccine that is very common in North America, and the parvovirus. Now, cats, I'm not even going to try to say these, but those are the ones that Panama wants you vaccinated for. And this will be on your vaccination certificate, and it'll be on your health certificate. So you don't need separate certificates for all these vaccines. You need a rabies certificate, a health certificate, which will list these, and you need your quarantine form. Okay. Now, the health certificate is the form that gets stamped either by the USDA or CFIA, that's Canadian Food Inspection Agency. And it has to get authenticated by a Panama consulate in the USA and Canada. And if you're flying commercial, this all has to be done within 10 days of the flight. Not 11, 10, folks. So really, if I recommend the 9th day, and it's calendar days, not business day. I recommend making the vet appointment for the 9th day before your flight. And then, but what you need to do, we live in 2020. Most of these vets file electronically with either the USDA or the CFIA. Now, your vet, your personal vet who's going to do all the vaccinations and stuff, doesn't have to be the one that fills in the health certificate. The health certificate has to be filled in by an authorized vet, authorized by the USDA or CFIA, I want to call it. But we can help you find that person, or you can do an online search. I have in the links below where you can search for vets that are authorized, and then you need to phone them and find the one that files electronically. What that means, when you're in their office, they fill out the form, they submit a button, it automatically goes to the USDA or the CFIA. It gets returned to them within 24 hours with an electronic signature stamp on it. So you don't have to go to a physical office of the USDA or CFIA. That is very important. I know. Now, the one I did working on today, they actually did that. It was only because he lived on the island in Vancouver, on Vancouver Island, and his vet there was authorized, but he didn't file electronically. But my client was able to get appointments the same day with CFIA and the Panama consulate in Vancouver. So he didn't have to courier documents everywhere. So if you don't live in a state with a courier, with a Panama consulate, you could use the Secretary of State but you don't want to do that. They're so far behind right now. Don't even consider as an option because you won't get your documents done. It's as simple as that. So what happens is if you live in Alabama, okay, I'm just going to throw that one up because I did one there last week. So they couriered the stuff to the Washington, D.C. Panama consulate. And I have instructions right in here how to do that. You put pets in transit on the envelope, and you put a return envelope to yourself inside. They will turn that around in 24 hours. So don't you worry about that. You can get it done if you don't live near a Panama consulate. There are about 14, I think it's 14. I have the list at the bottom of this email, Panama consulates in the USA. So a lot of people live close to one, but maybe not close enough. Okay. So if your vet files electronically, you take that electronically printed off form, and you take your rabies certificate and you take it to the Panama consulate to get authenticated. or you courier it to the Panama Consulate in Washington. The address is below in this document with a self-addressed overnight. FedEx seems to work the best with the Panama Consulate, and because I've used many overnight couriers to the Panama Consulate and FedEx, they have a daily pickup and a daily drop-off box. Like they actually have a physical box on their building for FedEx, so it will be delivered that day. And there's a $30 fee for the Panama Consulate, and your fee for the USDA and the CFIA varies. Your vet will take care of that and charge you for it. If you want to, if they're finding electronically, if you're doing it yourself, you got to, the addresses are in this document. You got to find out from them how much their fee are and include either they have print out credit card forms or a money order. The Panama Consulate only accepts money orders, $30 USD money orders. Note to Canada, it's still a USD money order you require for the consulate in Canada. Again, I can't stress the importance of finding a vet that electronically files with the USDA or CFIA. It'll save you a lot of stress. Okay, let's back up a little bit to pets traveling in cargo. If your pet's traveling on your under the seat in front of you, you're pretty good because you have the time to do all this. You don't have to. You've already booked your ticket with a pet traveling, underneath, and all you got to do is bring all this paperwork you got done when you check in. But if you're in cargo, now you got to send all this information to the cargo department of the airline you're flying with, fill in their booking forms, fill in their airway bills, and coordinate with them to pre-check your animal with the crate 12 to 24 hours before the flight, where they usually measure and weigh and stuff so they can bill you accordingly. You're going to pay at that point. And then they're going to ask you to drop the dog off with them about 3 to 4 hours before the flight. The cargo departments are not where the ticket counters are. Typically, they're different buildings. So every airline's different, though. So I can't attest to every airline in every city. Also, COPA, as you saw in my document, is out of the 15 cities that fly direct to Panama City, they have 12 of them. They're still, since COVID, they're not operating their own cargo departments in every one of the cities. Still, as of this month and last month, Denver, Los Angeles, Chicago, they were still using third-party freight forwarders, which they will inform you on how to use and how to contact, and they charge you a lot more money, unfortunately. In Canada, COPA is not handling their own cargo. I have 2 great contacts of third-party forwarders there to use. They're not cheap, I'm sorry, but it's kind of is what it is. As we live in this pre-COVID world, staffing, it just isn't up to par yet. In 2019, COPA ran all their cargo departments throughout North America. Now they're up to about 75% of them. So. Okay, 3 to 5 days before your arrival flight, this is very important. You need to notify the Minsa Zoologist office in Panama City Airport of your arrival and attach the following docs: authenticated health certificates, rabies certificates, and your home quarantine form. And you need to get a reply from them. If you don't get a reply, you need to ask them for, hey, how come I haven't heard from you? And so they need to know your dog's coming, or you're going to be delayed and sitting there for hours once you arrive. So make sure that's important. Make sure you get that done. You should get a reply within 24 hours. On travel day, if your dog or cat is flying in cabin, you will be presented with the documents, the health certificate, and the rabies certificate when you check into the flight, right? A check-in counter. And they're going to measure your dog or cat carrier. And every airline has a link on their website for the maximum size. Do not show up at the airport 2 hours before your flight with a pet over 20 pounds, because they're going to weigh it, because you're not getting on the flight if it is. It can't be over 20 pounds, and it can't be over the dimensions. Every flight, every airline, it has to do with their seat height. The pet has to go under the seat during takeoff and landing. So you need to make sure the measurements are right, or you're not getting on the plane that day. And cargo offices, you're going to, like I said, they're probably going to ask you to drop by with the pet. We do a lot of work. Like in our service where we do the pre-paperwork, we give you the phone numbers and emails of the cargo office. And we work with you with the crate size and what you're allowed. And, but they will, you will see them a few hours before the flight. You're going to need transport there and back, so don't rely on Uber. You may have to rent a car for a day if you're in that town and it's not your vehicle, or get a friend to help. Because they're going to measure the crate, they're going to weigh the dog, they're going to take your money, and they're going to take the original paperwork and affix it to the crate, and you're going to have copies. Don't forget, copies will already be at the Panama City Airport. When you fill this stuff out, guys, make sure your handwriting doesn't look like a 10-year-old. Honestly, come on. The Panama Airport will reject it or put you at the bottom of the pile. They can't read your handwriting. So either type it or have nice, clear handwriting, and make sure the scans aren't taken with your camera from 8 feet away. Okay, do a professional scan. Go to a scanning center. Have your documents professionally scanned. Okay, let's move on. Banned breeds. Now, this is an issue with a lot of people. They have a lot of wonderful dogs. Now, I am showing you Copa Airlines. Every airline has a slightly different banned breeds. Like I said, Air Panama has Sharpies on their banned breed. Why? I don't know. But typically, a flat-nosed dog is a banned breed. Not because they think it's dangerous, more because they have breathing issues and heart issues, and there's been too many lawsuits on airlines. So they won't take these breeds whatsoever, okay? Even cats, a Persian cat is a banned breed. You can't, travel in cargo. Now, you're not going to have an English bulldog that fits under your seat, obviously, but, these are banned breeds that they will not take in cargo. If you have a Burmese cat that fits under the seat, yeah, sure. They're not going to have an issue with it. But in cargo, it's an issue. So you got to find another way to get your dog there. And we're going to talk about that in a second. Minimum, maximum age. Now, airlines, 2 months, no less than 2 months, they're not touching it, to 11 years. Now, don't panic. After 11 years, they make you sign a waiver of release. You can still bring your dog. If you have a dog that's 23 years old, I know that's an exaggeration. My dog that was left with his mother in Vancouver recently passed away at 19 and a half. So dogs do live a long time. But if you tried to get a 19 and a half dog on an airline, they might not. They have the right to refuse, okay? Because they don't want a responsibility of a dog passing away in cargo. They just don't want that. That just honestly wrecks everyone's day and wrecks their reputation. So they won't take it. But if a dog's like the one I'm doing is 13 years old today, it's not an issue. They just had to sign a liability waiver. So maximum pet size. It's not about the size. I see on Facebook all the time, what's the maximum weight? It's nothing to do with that. It's about the size of the crate. Because all air freight is cubed. It's the size of the freight. It's not weight. It's irrelevant. If an elephant fit in there, you can transport. Okay. So this is Copa, and it's very similar within an inch or two of all airlines. The maximum size of the crate. Okay. Your dog has to be able to stand up, turn around, and sit back down without touching the top and the sides. Now, if you have a dog that's close, I had a 125-pound dog that fit in this crate, and they made them at Copa Cargo. Sit, stay, stand, turn around. Just they had to make sure the dog was clear and could move. Okay. but it was fine. So 125-pound dog was able to transport. So, some dogs are leaner than others. Some dogs are just chubby, like my little Chiquita. So that is the maximum crate size typically. Okay. Now, service animal and emotional support animals. This is something that's happened since I've been in the pet relocation business. Emotional support animals were allowed on the plane with no problem. They just have to have a certificate of emotional support. The problem is with that, it was abused, greatly abused. First of all, we're going to see on the next screen the cost of moving an animal is much more expensive in cargo than it is under the seat, like on the plane. And emotionally support animals were allowed for free. So people were avoiding $1,000 cost. So they were using these online psychiatrists that charge $50, $100 to give them in a 5-minute Zoom conference that they need an emotionally support animal. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm not going to quote the date because I can't remember it, but earlier this year at the beginning, emotionally support animals were banned by the U.S. Travel Agency, and Canada followed. So they're no longer. But fully trained service animals, dogs, are allowed on board of all international flights traveling to Panama at no additional cost. However, they might need paperwork above. Oh, that should actually say below. Just like, no, they need all the paperwork that we just talked about, just like any other pet. And I need, if you guys are doing this, if you have a service dog, and a service dog, a lot of people think of a blind person with a service dog. Okay, there's many more things service dogs can do. Service dogs people who have seizures can have service dogs that can locate the medication, get help, and get people to give them the medication. There's many things a service dog can do. But it has to be a trained service dog. Now, if you don't have the actual certificate when you're checking in, the airline has the right to ask you 2 questions. They have a right to ask you the questions that are, do you have a disability that the service dog performs for you? And may I see an example of what this dog does? So it's up to the discretion of the airlines. They are pretty fair because right now, with no more emotionally support animals, there's not a lot of service dogs boarding. So if you have a good service dog, and they can't exempt breed as a service dog. So if your service dog is a pit bull, as long as the agent doesn't fear for anyone's safety, they have to let that dog on board. So it's good news for people that do have service dogs. And there's some great reading here that like you're all going to get this. I explain again for the people that have joined late. You're going to get this document in an email within 10 minutes of this call ending, and how you get the documentation and what is required. So that is service dogs. What do we got? Okay. Government agencies. Oh, don't I have cost here? Okay. This here will list your USDA offices and the Panama Consulate. Now, this is the Panama Consulate in Washington. Is the biggest consulate. It's the actual embassy. It's the biggest consulate in the country, and they are used to people traveling with pets. So I have sent stuff to LA, to New Orleans, to Orlando, and 3 days later, I'm begging them to finish it. These guys in Washington, D.C. get it in and out, sometimes the same day, because they have their FedEx mailbox delivery in the morning, and they drop it in the mailbox, and they do their stamp. And so that's the best one to send. I still use them, even though the lady there said, oh, you're supposed to use the one closest to you. Yeah, too bad. So, failure. This page isn't loading. There it is. And in Canada, Click here to find the offices for the U.S. Food Inspection Agency, and these are your consulate offices. My price, I'm just fine. How did I miss the price? What page? 3, 4, 5. Estimated cost. That's what I want to go with. Okay. Down to the end. Pets in cabin, you're looking at $500 per pet. In cargo, 50-pound dogs, $1,350. Those are estimates. I could be out 10, 20% either way. But let's look at it. Your visit to the vet for all your shots, that varies. I can't even put a price in there. The USDA CFIA accredited vet is going to charge you between $150 and $200 to fill out a health certificate and submit it. The USDA stamps, the Panama Consulate stamps, the pet in cabin, $125 to $150. The pet in cargo, you're looking at $15 a pound. Basic rates. That's an average. Arrival in Panama City is $155 per pet. So those are basically your prices of what it's going to cost you to bring a dog. Now, what does it cost you to bring a dog on a private jet or multiple pets? Like I said, I recently did one with 7, and several of them were in the cabin. So think we're in cargo. So think of that price. Typically, right now, pets in. Let's move. I'm going to bring up another document, guys. And then we're going to get to the Q&A. You guys can ask all your questions in 1 second. Private jet. I have zero affiliation with these companies. You ask them who we are, don't know. Well, if you ask their staff who we are, they will know me because Evil Jets and Fly for Florida, I've worked with several times coming right into David and in Panama City. And for me, there's many jet companies that obviously that's the shortest connection, Florida to Panama City. It's a 3-hour flight. There's nowhere else you can fly out of the U.S. with a 3-hour flight to Panama City, so it's going to be the least cost. Now you're looking around $25,000 for a private jet, and typically they can have 6 to 8 passengers, or 2 passengers and 4 giant dogs. But the dogs can go on the floor. You have to talk to the jet of how much weight you're going to be allowed and stuff like that. With both these companies are pet friendly. Both these companies use the same ground crews in David that I know very well, MAPX, because that's the one different thing with the private jet company. They need somebody to bring them in. Like if you're flying into David, it's not the Copa staff or the United staff that's going to be on the tarmac bringing them in. There are ground crews in Panama City and David, and we have to get them involved. It's no extra. They're not really an extra cost because the jet companies, that's included, but we still have to coordinate everything with them. If you want to bring a private jet and bring it all the way to David, you are looking at, we need to coordinate making sure there's a vet there that day, because you might be the only private jet that day. And depending on what else you're bringing in, we need different customs people there, and like all that has to be coordinated. But if you could share a private jet and do it, let's say 2 couples with their animals, maybe they each have 3 or 4 different animals, and $12,500, and maybe some extra luggage or some special stuff you want to move. I even had people bring precious metals on the private jet. Great way to do it, rather than going through all the hassles of shipping and trying to do that commercially. And we can coordinate all that for you. But a private jet is an option. So what I want you people to do that want to go on a private jet, sorry, I forgot to do this. We need to get some of you people together. You don't have to take a private jet out of Florida, but honestly, if you take one out of Houston or Las Vegas, it's going to cost you $30,000, $40,000. We're very close to all the questions, guys. And an expat service. I just want to give you the contact information because, as I say, we are not going to get involved in booking private jets for anybody. Okay. I'm not in that business. Private jet companies don't want to pay us, right? But I just put a link in the chat. Look at it now. If you want to contact us about a private jet, please click on that link, fill in the form, send us a message where we need to know where you're flying from and how many people and how many pets. And we will try to hook you up with somebody else. And then once we connect you, you two contact these companies and get some quotes. And they if you split the cost, in the past, they have billed the people separately. So there's not even an issue with the money. They'll bill you each $12,500. And by the way, don't quote me on that price. I know someone who got that last week, but I'm not saying with gas prices all over the place that it's going to be that. And then full service pet relocators. Take a look at these two companies. I know they do a good job. There's many companies out there, but I just don't know them all. And I think Pets Global. Yeah, I copied and pasted that. That's not even Glow. Oh yeah, Pets Go Global. Yeah, both. The first one's actually in Panama, and they are end-to-end solutions, meaning they come to your house, pick up Fluffy, and you fly to Panama, and they bring Fluffy to your house. You're looking at $3,000-$4,000 depending on where you live. Maybe 5 or 6 if you live like in Seattle or something, and they got to transport your dog across the country. So that is some great information for you. So I think we need to prepare for a Q&A. Megan, I'm going to shut down the presentation. Can you open up the Q&A and you guys can bombard us with questions here?
Sure. Let's get it started.
Okay.
Q&A mode is up.
Okay, so type your questions in. I see I see the question that's not in the Q&A section yet, so that's fine. The maximum age was for pets, but like I said, 11 is not a maximum. If it's over 11, they're going to ask you to fill out a waiver. And if you apply private charter, the 10-day timeline for your pet, the 10-day timeline for pet health certificate, if you fly in charter, does not apply. You have 30 days. The 10-day is implemented by the airlines. I have no idea why. Panama has no idea why, because right on Panama's health certificate, it says this is valid for 30 days. But the airlines will not take it unless it's within 10. So on the private charter, it's a little more relaxing. I get people started on the private charters on 30 days. At about 25 days. Thank you for that question, Greg. I think I have that somewhere in the document. I just mustn't have read it.
Yeah, you did go over that one.
What airlines fly animals? It's at the top of my list that everyone is getting that presentation, that 8-page document after this call ends. It'll come to you by email. Look for it as an attachment. It's a list. I'm not going to list all the countries. Copa Airlines flies 11 cities in North America, and Delta flies out of Atlanta direct, and American flies out of Miami and Houston. United flies out of Houston, only in cabin though, not in cargo.
Someone did add in the chat that Copa is now flying direct out of Atlanta as well, but I believe that's an evening flight.
It is, but it's also I forget the name of the jet, and they're not doing the pets and cargo. I already had that asked. Yeah. It could change. It's a small jet that they have. It's a 80-passenger jet. They used to fly out of New Orleans with it. I've been on that flight many times. It doesn't have a pet compartment in cargo, but they could change that. We're going to talk about driving in a second here once we get through some of these questions.
Yep. Next is from Mark. You will get a copy of the presentation. That'll go out today or tomorrow.
Well, the actual physical 8-page pet relocation document I promised everyone you'll get within 5 minutes of this Q&A ending, and a recap video of the whole thing will be sent to you guys tomorrow.
Karen wants to bring her gecko.
Woohoo! Okay, we talked about dogs and cats, guys. You can bring many different pets. I've done birds. I've done dragon lizards. So yes, we can bring a gecko. And by the way, I have like 6 of them in my house. They're not pets, but they're like they're wild. But I love the geckos because they eat all my bugs.
All right. Let's see. Does the max age apply to cats brought in cabin?
The max age applies to all pets, all dogs and cats. It's 11 years. If it's over 11, they may request you to just sign a waiver of liability that the airline's not responsible. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. From Miles and Tanis, if we don't relocate this year, do we need to do all this paperwork if we are bringing our pet?
Every single time you bring a pet to Panama, you have to do all this paperwork. We have people that come here 6 months a year. They do it every year. I've helped them once, maybe 3 years ago. Now they do it on their own because they know the system. So,
yeah, we had that same question here for short-term travel back and forth. Is it feasible?
It's not. First of all, you have to quarantine your animal for 40 days. So you can't do less than a 40-day stay, or they're going to be ticked off at you, and they're not going to let you do it next time. Because you can't go and leave the country with your pet, because your pet's supposed to be in quarantine. It can't be with all the other animals in the plane. Yep. Let's explain. I saw a couple questions about quarantine, Megan. Can you give me 1 second so I can explain the quarantine process? Because I don't think it did. Panama requires you to fill out a form and pay a $130 fee saying that you will keep your animal on your property in your fenced yard for 40 days after you arrive. It will not associate with any other animal that you did not bring. You cannot take it for walks outside your property or anything, and you have to agree to that. And it's a form that you fill out and you submit to the Mensa dog and cat animal department at the airport 3 to 5 days before your arrival. And it's, I declare that, and you pay a fee. If you don't fill out that form, they keep your dog for 40 days at $10 a day. That should answer the home quarantine.
A question I get a lot from our guests is, how is that enforced?
How is it enforced? Is it enforced? I don't know. Well, are they going to come to your house? Like they want your address and your phone and all that stuff. It's just the $130 seems like an excessive fee. It's more of a, you want a pet in Panama, we're going to charge you this money. But I honestly wouldn't push it.
Mm-hmm. Susan asked in the chat, where is that form? Will that be signed when they land in Panama?
No. You have to fill out that form and pre-submit it to the all the stuff is in the information that in the manual. Now, I tell you where to get the forms from and make sure you get the most current form. Like, honestly, if you, there's 2 ways to do this. Like, I sent you an 8-page, we're sending you an 8-page document that tells you how to do it yourself. You're going to have to do some of the work. Or if you want us to help you out, write in the document, it shows you how, and we can do all that work for you. Provide you the right documentation, proofread everything, send it to the doctors ourselves, get approval right from them. Yes, we have it. It's all good, Rod, and bring your animal. So.
Great. Okay, back to the Q&A. We have, how do the dogs that travel in cargo get fed, water, do their business? Do the owners provide? How do they relieve themselves?
Yeah, the longest flight in Panama, and you'll find this amazing, is to Panama is out of San Francisco. No, yeah, that's the longest one, and it's 7.5 hours. That's the longest North American direct flight to Panama. Now, you have to provide bedding for the crate, which is an absorbent of wet pee pads, basically. You have to provide a water bottle, and you're supposed to feed your dog before. You don't want to feed your dog during the flight. That's just a bad thing. Like if you feed your dog once a day, feed them 12 hours before you fly. Don't, because you're only going to drop them off 3 to 4 hours before the flight. So you're looking at a 12-hour period. But there are on the crates places for water bottles. And you need to buy this crate a month before. Get your dog used to that. Get your dog used to licking the water bottle thing so it can get water. And our clients have been amazed, even on the San Francisco LA flights, which are the longest, that they never even peed. They never, they just didn't. They like once they got out of the airport to the, 12 square feet of grass that they have on the entire, 8 square mile airport, they peed like crazy. But they just don't do it. Like it just doesn't happen. And you don't want to feed your dog heavily before he flies, obviously. So it's never really been an issue. But the water has to be provided. It's part of the cage when you buy it. It sits on the outside with the tray on the inside. So your dog will have water.
Okay. Next question from Colleen. What about driving? So
We're going to talk about driving. We're not going to get excessive into driving because as a company that helps import animals into Panama, we only know the Panama border laws. You have to go through 6 other borders with your pets. Now, all I can advise you here is go on Facebook. I know I hate Facebook. Search the Central America caravan groups and go with a group. Do not do this by yourself. I know people here have done it by themselves. I made it. I also know people that have been robbed, that have had their vehicle stolen, all their belongings stolen, and that have been bribed by every border guard along the way. So I like to stay neutral on the driving. All I want you to do, it's a good idea. It can be a smart thing. Be careful. You have to go through 6 borders, starting in Mexico and every other country. And then once you get to Panama, we can help you with the paperwork you need here. You need all this paperwork just for Panama. What do you need for the other borders? I'm not an expert there. So we're not going to tell you. But if you join these caravan groups that do it, they drive in 3 to 6 different cars, groups of people, you will be safe. Somebody there has done it before. They will know what paperwork you need. And I've seen them. You just go on Facebook, Central America caravan groups, Central America travel groups. And some people bring their truck, but some people do crazy things like, hey, I'm going to load my motorhome up and come to Panama. And then they get here and realize they owe $10,000 tax because they brought their motorhome, or they have to get rid of it in 30 days or get out of the country in 30 days. So there's so many implications that I'm not going to sit here and advise you to drive. But if you want to do it, please come with a caravan, come with other people that have done it. Get on those groups on Facebook and you'll find someone else that can help you do it better than we can because they've done it before. And many have done it multiple times.
Great. Next question from Kelly. Does COPA allow for parrots in the cabin?
COPA has a bird list. No, they no longer allow sorry, I just got this notification, any birds in the cabin. Mm-hmm. So birds are an issue. Bringing your birds down here. I'm not going to hold up the group on this, but again, in that link, I will send it one more time. I have some contacts there that will get me the answer of what is this month's story. I just sent the contact link again. Please send me an email, and I can tell you your give me as much detail as possible. But the birds in cabin between North America and Panama are not that good.
Okay. From Lauren, how do you arrange a flight with a dog in cabin from YVR?
Well, you're going to have to decide what city you're going to go to, Lauren, first. So from YVR, I'm from Vancouver myself. So my journey would be Air Panama or WestJet, YVR to LAX. And I would stay there for, maybe a long layover, even overnight. And then take Copa from LAX to Panama City. And you just don't book online. You got a phone, Air Panama, WestJet. Make sure your dog qualifies to go in the cabin. And international flights are typically around 125 to 150. And that's each leg of the journey because it's going to be an international. There's no airline that goes from YVR to Panama. Unless you go YVR Toronto and then on Air Canada and then Toronto to, that's just so much flight time. But YVR LAX is my favorite journey out of Vancouver. So I hope that helps you. But you do it over the phone. Expect to wait an hour, especially with Air Panama. Especially with Air Canada.
Okay. From Tiziana, would it be easier to fly into David rather than Panama City on a private jet as far as the customs process? They have a pit bull and a chihuahua, and no airlines will allow their pit bull.
Yeah, exactly. Tiziana, if you're moving to Cherokee, yes, but it's not easier. It's actually more difficult here, but we can really help you. Tiziana and Kevin were on our last tour, and we can really help you coordinate that here to make that easy. And we'll have a van at the airport to pick you up and stuff like that. So, but Panama City receives private jets every day, multiple times a day. David receives a few private jets a week. So when I have a flight coming into David, I get a hold of the ground crew there and say, hey, this day, this time, we need this to happen. Boom, boom, boom. I need a doctor. Who's the doctor? On call. Okay, get them in there. So it's no problem coming into David. It's just you need a service like us that can coordinate all that for you to make that a nice, smooth transaction.
Alrighty. From Janelle, do you think they would go as high as 18 years old for a cat?
I have done an 18-year-old cat last year. So basically, if you get what they did, in addition to the health certificate, the doctor wrote a letter of good health for the cat. It's almost like when you're 70, you got to get a letter of good health for your driver's license. So the doctor wrote a letter of good health for the cat. And the airlines accepted it without a problem. But they made them sign a waiver of liability that we're not responsible for your cat if it doesn't like flying. The odds of something happening to your animal, folks, is so slim. But when it does happen, it always makes the media. It's just crazy. Dogs just don't die in airplanes because they're flying in airplanes. Like I haven't even had a dog get sick in an airplane yet. They're happy. They're certainly happy to get out of the damn thing, but within an hour, they're typically back to normal. And cats the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from Mark, how do they deal with high energy dogs like a husky?
See, this is the thing why I told you to make sure your flight is a flexible fare and stuff like that. If you got a dog jumping around the cage, it's not going to go. Guys, if you have a high energy dog that's just is upset and stuff, you need to buy that cage 3 months before you come here. That has to become its bed within those 3 months. You need to train it to love its cage, to be relaxed and calm and want to sleep there. You might. I had one client actually hire a trainer because they had a high energy dog that they put in their cage that was trying to get out, and it became within their 3 months, the cage became the dog's bed, and that's where it relaxed and laid down and slept all the time. So that's kind of how you have to handle that. You can't just buy a cage the day before your flight and expect your dog's going to love it in there. Because if it's agitated and jumping around, because they're going to think it's going to hurt itself. So they're not going to allow you on the flight. So you need to train that dog to be comfortable in its surroundings for those few hours on the flight.
Yeah, a related question from Colleen. Are you able to give your dog any anti-anxiety medicine?
Absolutely not, that anyone knows about. You cannot tell the airline that you gave your dog an anti-anxiety medicine. If your dog has dilated pupils, it ain't going to fly either. So you have to be careful there. I know some people that have given their dogs CBD and got away with it. I'm not advising that. The airline's rules are strict that you do not give your dog anything. Some people have gotten permission to give their dog like it's gravel, like because their dogs, so the dog don't get motion sickness, and that happens to be helps you sleep too. So, but as far as actual medicine from your vet will advise you to don't do it because they can tell if your dog's a little bit, high.
Mhm. Okay, from Peter and Kathy, if you have two small dogs, 8 pounds each, can they go in one carrier in the cabin?
No, only if they're under 6 months, I believe the rule is. They have to be puppies. So they have to be two people. There's only one dog in cabin per person. So I've had singles move here with 2 dogs, and they just bring a friend. It's great. The friend gets a vacation and hangs out for a week with them, helps them get settled, then goes home.
So Peter and Kathy can bring them just in their own carriers.
Oh yeah. You can bring one per each, Peter and Kathy, but they can't go in the same carrier unless they're under a certain. Like puppies, they allow, but puppies in a basket are cute to anybody. So.
Okay, what is your fee to take care of the process per dog or cat? From Karen.
Oh, okay. Great question, Karen. We charge $350 for the first animal and $100 for each additional animal. And that includes several phone/Zoom calls from 45 days out. And we set you up a plan. We set up a calendar together. I'm all over you. Have you done this yet? Have you done that yet? We proofread all your paperwork. We do the pre-notification. We make sure everything is there on the day of your arrival. And it's just a stress-free. We try to make the thing as stress-free as possible. We also provide transport across the entire country. If you use our transport service, we have a bilingual pet-friendly driver vehicle at the airport waiting for you. In case of emergency with both our services, you have a phone number that, like typically the vets all speak English, but the office staff there don't. But you can just hand them a phone number, and we have a Spanish and English phone number for them to call if there's any issues with paperwork. So it's never ever been used to this date, by the way. We also handle pets without the owners. It happens. People come here, hey, I'm going to stay here. My pet is in house sitting. How do I get it here? We can help with that too. And we have, like I say, our drivers, when I say pet friendly, our drivers love dogs. They allow the dog to be outside of the cage. Typically cats not, but dogs they do. Obviously we charge a little bit more for transport because they got to do a complete cleaning after, because their next pickup might be humans, and there's dog hair all over their vehicle. So, but yeah. So, and they bring leashes. They take care. Like we had someone. We pick people up, dogs only, and bring them to Boquete. They stop every 2 hours. They take the dog for a walk, give it water, feed it. Do all that stuff. So the answer is $350 for the first dog, $100 for every additional dog, and we walk you through the entire 45-day process.
Great.
And on the document you're going to get after this call ends, which we're a little bit over time, but if we still have questions, we will continue. That there's the last page, there's how to contact us if you want to use our services. What if your house in Panama does not have a fenced yard?
Yeah, from Robert. What if your house in Panama does not have a fenced yard? Is it satisfactory if the pet remains on the property for the quarantine?
Yeah, Robert, the requirement is basically your dog can't interact with any other dogs. So basically, put him on a leash when he's got to go outside. Make sure there's no other dogs around. And make sure there's not the Mensa van with the little antenna on top watching you from. No, that's not going to happen. Okay, so it's just, do your due diligence. My concern is with people that try to come here with their dog for 2 weeks and then sneak out with the same dog. Now, that's going to be seen on the owner's passport and stuff for their next entry, and they're going to know that they didn't comply with the 40-day quarantine. So that's my big concern. I don't think Mensa's watching you, but please follow the rules. And it's only, they don't want to introduce new fleas into the community or anything that your dog might have on it. So just keep it away from other animals.
Next is from Karen. Do the airlines require metal bolts to secure the kennel?
Yes, the metal bolts on the doors are a requirement. It's on all the airline sites. You can't have plastic because some dogs have been able to break through it, and then they're wandering around peeing on people's luggage. It happened. So yes, it has to be airline approved kennels. And I had a client that Walmart had some cheap kennels, but they weren't airline approved. They were for your yard.
Mm-hmm. Vicky, my vet doesn't like to sedate the pets. What are your thoughts on sedating cats that fly in cabin?
It's the same for in cabin. You're not allowed to sedate your pets on international flights. Now, that is like pharmaceutical sedating your pets. Look at natural alternatives. Honestly, look at dog and pet CBD products and stuff like that. I've had people had a lot of success with that. It's not pharmaceutical. You can't get in trouble. Dog will sleep like a baby, or your kitty.
Mm-hmm. All right, last question in the
as long as you can keep your cat quiet until you get up in the air, because the pilot's not going to turn your plane around for a howling cat. Just get up in the air. They might move you to a quieter area, but as long as your cat can be relaxed for a while.
From Kelly, we know how crazy the paperwork is with our birds. We've moved internationally before. Do you also handle birds?
We can handle non-cat and pet stuff, but on a private level, please send us a contact, which I'm going to pop into the chat again because lots of activity in the chat. It's also on the last page of the form that you're receiving shortly. And, okay, I just screwed something up. No problem.
But you have supported with different types of pets before.
I'm sorry?
You've supported with different types of pets besides dogs and cats.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Birds, lizards. The requirements are different. We have to go through a guaranteed a non-endangered species forms, and there's another government entity we have to deal with. So, so I just popped the link to the contact us in our chat. Give me as much details as possible, and I'll let you know whether or not we can help you with it. We only do, our company is very transparent, folks. If we don't know, you're not going to be my test, put it that way. So, bearded dragons, lizards, yes, I know exactly how to do that. I'm in the process of one right now. So, and birds, we've done a couple people with birds. But if you have a ferret, I don't know. Sorry, I haven't seen a ferret in Panama. So,
Not yet, at least.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
see in the group chat, Tiziana and Colleen are both looking to bring their pets via private jet. So we
Uh-huh.
should get them connected.
Okay.
They were
Make
past
sure.
tour guests.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. Tiziana and Carlene. Yeah. Let's one more time. Like all you people that I know, I see emails coming through already. People are already. All you people that want to bring your pets on a private jet. There's a possibility. We did 3 last year. There was one single and 2 couples. They each had 1 or 2 pets. They rented an 8-passenger jet. It was a little more money, but it was like 30 some thousand. So it was only $10,000 or $11,000 a person. And some of them had restricted pets. Some of them had pets they just didn't want to put in cargo. So, all right. How are we doing for questions, Meg? We went a
That
little
was all the
overtime here,
questions.
guys. Woohoo! Again, you can send more questions after this call. And those of you that are listening on Facebook right now, this is being live streamed all over Facebook, and this will be on YouTube tomorrow. Those of you listening, the PanamaExpatService.com at the top. Click on Pet Relocation, and then you can contact us about your pet needs. We'll help you. Like I said, you're going to receive an 8-page document that if you want to do it on your own, please, you can do it. If you want a bit of help, contact us. If you want full service, I showed you the links already. I showed you who we advise. So we thank you very much for joining us tonight. And I think we can close the Q&A. And that is it, folks. Thank you for joining us, and you guys all have a great night.
Good night, everyone.
All right. Good night, Megan. Thank you for your help tonight and moderating this call.
Anytime.
All righty. And we'll talk to you tomorrow, and we'll talk to you guys all soon. Thank you.